Y'all already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. Some of the dumbest and craziest fights I saw during my incarceration. People have the misconception that because someone's a drug addict, a junkie, homeless, that they won't bust your ass, that they can't fight. Man, that dude's been getting high for 20 years. Man, I'll slap. No. It don't always work that way. Today I'm going to run through some of the dumbest and craziest fights I've seen while locked up. I could talk forever on the subject, but I sat and I thought back on some of them. Some of these things are just comical and stupid and violent all at the same time. I'd like to thank everybody that reached out to my brother Philly, that reached out to Brian Monahan. If you didn't watch yesterday's videos, make sure you watch yesterday's videos. I put a picture of him up. Also, with his name, his state number, he's at Buckingham. If you would like to contact him, download the JPay app on your phone. It's free. You can contact him. You put some stamps on there, and you can correspond right back and forth. People aren't really using pen and paper no more. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into some of the craziest, dumbest fights I saw while locked up. Y'all know I done seen it. Y'all know I done lived it. So let's relive. First story comes out of Philadelphia, the home of the Liberty Bell, the home of the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies. 215 Philadelphia. Philly's one of those places that if you've been locked up in Philly, grew up in Philly, spent time out in Philadelphia streets, chances are you fought. If you didn't fight at any time, chances are you ran. Philly's one of those places where some of the greatest fighters in the world, in the United States, have come out of Philadelphia. You can check that out. Some of the greatest boxers and training facilities are located in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a place where the streets are mean, the streets are tough. Back then, we were knucking up. You know what I mean? We put our fist up, and if we had a misunderstanding, even between homeboys, other dudes, we were known to put our fist up and rumble. In the jail, it was 100 times worse. Because if you and somebody had some type of problem, some type of beef, it wasn't you live in a neighborhood and he lives in a neighborhood, or y'all live a block over, or y'all live on the same street. When y'all see each other, y'all handle it. With being locked up, it gets handled 99% of the time right then and right there. So I get locked up, and I go to this place called 55th and Pine. And if I remember right, the way they do it in Philly when you get locked up is they got different districts. Like if you get locked up out in Southwest, you go on to 55th and Pine. You get locked up somewhere else out towards the North-South, you might end up at the Roundhouse, you know. So they got small jails, but they're just holding facilities. While you're there, you will be fed cheese sandwiches the entire time you are there. That is it. Cheese sandwiches 3 times a day. They bring you this little Wawa iced tea, this little almost like milk carton that's got iced tea and it says Wawa. That's warm. For the next 3 days, you will not shower. You will not leave that cell unless it is to sit down in front of a camera and have your bail discussed. And they would pack anywhere. There's 5 cells on one side, 5 cells on the other, and then there's a juvenile wing where they hold you until they take you to the youth study center, right? Youth study center is the detention home out there for y'all that don't know. So with these 5 cells on this side and these 5 cells on this side, they pack us in tight. You got a cell that's supposed to hold 4 men at the most. There's no bunks. There's no beds. There's a dirty, disgusting toilet that it looks like it has never been cleaned since the day that it was put in there. It's backed up to the point that everything in it is pretty much dry all the way up to the brim, if you get what I'm saying. It's disgusting. There's one concrete slab. That's it. For your next 3 days, when you sleep, you will sleep on the floor. And by the time you come up out of here, you will stink and you will smell like whoever you're in that cell with. With there being 5 cells on that one side, I've seen them pack 12 people in each cell, and there'll be 60 plus people in 5 cells. You have 72 hours to make bond. If you have not bonded out, you don't have a bond, you can't get out, you're getting sent to CFCF, Karen From Hold Correctional Facility. From there, things get much worse. From there, when you first come in, you start off in the first cell, and it's a whole bunch of cells, and they're all packed. The front of the cell is glass, and then the other 3 walls are brick. You can look out and you see the other cells, and you just see that, like, damn, they're steadily bringing people in, and they move you from cell to cell to cell until you get to the desk where they book you and process you in. And I wanted to speak on this real quick, not to get off topic, but I had to say this because I seen somebody else speak on it. I just got turned on to somebody named Wallow, and he said something. I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but it's a fact. As you're standing up there and they're asking you all this different information, they're signing you up to get your TB shot, have your blood taken, asking you if you're on any medicines. They asked you a question that most people would never expect to be asked in their life. As they're standing there asking me these questions, the guard looks at me and says, in case of an emergency, if something should happen to you, who would you like us to contact and where would you like your body sent? What did you just say? Who would you like us to contact and where would you like your body sent? I paused for a second, looked at this dude. I said, what do you mean my body's sent? Whoa, what the fuck y'all got going on in here that you asking me? Part of the paperwork is where would I want my body sent? So you make your way all the way up till you get to the point to where the dude's going to ask you that crazy question, right? This can take days, depending on what day of the week you got locked up, what time of year it is. In summertime, which I always get locked up in Philly in the summer. I love Philly in the summer. Them streets in Philly, it's amazing to be in the streets of Philly in the summer. But if you out there doing something you shouldn't be doing, you'll get your ass jammed up. It can take you a while to get to this point. Then you get to a point where you take a shower. You're in the shower, and there's like a little cubby hole with an inmate sitting on the other side that takes the clothes you got on. You push him through, and he now pushes the clothes through that you're going to wear, right? Before I ever make it to this desk, I'm in like the second, third cell. And when I first got in there, we all come in, we go into cell 1. It's a whole group of us that came from different jails. They pack us in there. There's probably a good 10 of us in this cell. There's this old guy. Dude kind of reminded me of like a cracked out Candyman. Old, skinny, tall, black dude. And this dude is snapping. And you're not going to believe what he's snapping over. He's snapping over he's snapping on the guards, screaming on them. I was locked up in here 3 years ago. When y'all released me, y'all ain't give me my umbrella. Where's my umbrella at? I want my umbrella. We're looking at this dude like, this dude is, you're getting ready to go into, population and you're worried about an umbrella? I want my umbrella. Then he goes into, I need my medication. I need my medication. You can tell that the dude is either coming down off drugs or does a lot of drugs and is out of his mind. You also know the dude is crazy because he got locked up wearing a fanny pack. One of those things you clip around your waist. He's telling the guard, my medication was in my fanny pack. I need my medication if I go crazy, if I go crazy. We got another boy in there locked up from North Philly. Street dude, younger dude in his 20s, that tells him, hey, look, man, I'm tired of hearing your mouth. You're starting to give me a headache. You need to, pipe down with all that rah-rah shit. Shut up. Dude looks at him, man, I need my medication. He got locked up on a drug charge. In his fanny pack was this medicine he has to take every day because he's off in the head. They come over. They give him his medication. He calms down. You notice that he starts to get sleepy after he takes his medicine. My Philly cats know what a cold pack is. Once you get to CFCF, they bring you this little piece of styrofoam. It's got a sandwich in the middle of it. Might be bologna and cheese. Might be cheese. It's got an apple and a bag of chips. And it's got cellophane wrapped around it. We call them cold packs, right? The whole time you're coming through booking and processing, all you're going to eat is cold packs. Every meal, they're going to bring you a cold pack, a sandwich, an apple, a bag of chips. Once you get in the general population, these things are gold. You can sell these things. Dudes will buy them up as fast as you can get them because the rest of it's better than the food they serve, right? So they come to the door, cold packs, cold packs, cold packs. Dudes that are laying down, sleeping, spent 3 days in this holding cell at these jails. Everybody's tired, ready to get to the shower, ready to get to an actual cell with a mat and lay down. Your body's stiff from laying on the floor. You stink because you've been in these cells that don't never get clean. It's just, at this point, you're mentally exhausted, right? So we all go to the door, get our cold packs, and dude is done. Fell asleep on the bench after he took his medication. He ain't bitching about his umbrella no more. He sleep on the bench. One of the dudes was like, hey, oh hey, get your cold pack, man. So he sits up kind of groggy, takes a couple steps forward, gets the cold pack, and goes and lays back down on the bench. Well, now dudes are irritated because there's nowhere to sit. Ain't nobody trying to stand up for days on end while this dude lays sprawled out on the bench, right? So dudes tell him, hey, man, you need to get up off the bench, man, so dudes can sit down. He does it, and he gets up under it's a metal bench. He gets up underneath the bench and, like, curls up in a fetal position and lays his cold pack on the floor. Doesn't eat his food, right? A little bit of time goes by, and the dude from North Philly that told him, you need to pipe down with all that rah-rah, stop making all that noise. Grimy-ass dude, he looks over. The old head sleep as food's laying there. He's like, shit, I'm hungry. Reaches down, takes dude's food, takes his empty cart, and throws it down there being funny, right? Eats this man's food. Y'all know where this is going. Couple hours goes by. The dude is knocked out, wakes up, opens his eyes, and the first thing he does is look up at his cold pack, and all that's laying there is an empty styrofoam container. So he crawls out from underneath the bench, stands up, looking around at everybody. By now, there's a stack of empty cold packs laying in the corner. There's an apple or two floating around, but all the food is gone. Somebody's ate his food, right? Who ate my food? Who took my food? Where my food at? He starts snapping, making a scene in there, right? Same dude from earlier tells him, man, shut up, man. Stop making all that noise when you get the guards over here. Chill out. Dude keeps making a scene. Dude tells him, I ain't gonna tell you again, stop making all that noise, man. You shouldn't been asleep, man. You should have ate your food like everybody else. Don't worry about who ate your food. Next time, be awake and eat your food, right? Old head goes to say something. Dude punches him inside his face one time. Ha! Catches him in his eye. Put a big old knot on his eye. I'm expecting for it to turn into a fight. Once he hits him, everybody just kind of backs up, right? We back up, expecting them to go ahead and fade, go ahead and fight right there in the middle of the cell. Dude takes the punch in the face, wears it. Just don't do anything and just sits there, right? Just go ahead and sits down on the bench. Eye knotted up. Dude's like, what? Just making a bunch of noise. Old head ain't trying to fight, right? We all looked at this like, damn, he just punched dude in his shit. We figured the guards were going to come running in, but he only hit him one time, so it wasn't enough to where there was a lot of commotion to where they would notice anything going on. It was a quick punch one time, dude sat down, right? We sit in this cell till probably another 5-6 hours after this. It's almost going on about 8 o'clock at night, I would guess. And they're getting ready to move us all from that cell into the next cell. And then so on and so on and so on. They come, pop the door, y'all move into the next cell. The old head stands up. The boy from North Philly stands up. We all stand up and we're coming out the cell. The old head behind me. And the dude from North Philly is about 2 guys in front of me. And we're coming out the door sideways, trying to get out of here. Like, we're not single file line. We're just trying to get out this cell. It's hot, it's musty, it stinks like men. And no sooner than we get out in this open area where they gotta open this door now, let us in, the old head takes off on the boy from North Philly. Boom! Boom, 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 boom! And just starts whooping his ass. Dude never seen it coming. He thought he just punched his old head and the shit was going to end, right? Old head whooped this boy's ass. Well, I mean, he whooped his ass. He beat him from one side of where we was at all the way up towards the officer's desk and had him on the ground just drilling him. And all the officers did was scream, hey, stop, quit, hey. When he was done, He walked on down to where we were all standing in the cell. The door was still open, and he walked in and left the dude laying there. Dude wasn't unconscious, but he beat the shit out of this young boy from North Philly over that cold pack. I learned something that day in watching that fight. We would go on to be processed through, sent to our pods where we were going to be housed at in the F. But I learned something that day. A, don't never turn your back on somebody you got beef with. And B, don't never judge nobody on their appearance and think because of how they look that you can beat them. You don't know what the next man's capable of. Just based off the fact that he was going crazy over an umbrella that they took from him 3 years ago, and when he got released, they didn't give back, might have been a key indicator that that's not the guy you want to punch in the face. And if you are going to punch him, you better beat his ass and make him fear you. Because if you don't, you just leave him sitting there stewing and brewing inside about what you did to him, you can almost guarantee that if he's as crazy as he appears, the moment you turn your back on him, you just might get your ass whooped. 1994. I'm 14 years old. 94 was an all-around bad year for me. Most of the years after that were. But 94, I wrecked a car. Car didn't belong to me. I actually hit a car on 2nd and Canal, and I was speeding. I was 14 years old. I did not know how to drive, but I've been whipping this dude's car for a minute. I hit another car. I run a red light. I'm running out of gas. I'm trying to find a gas station. I'm lost. I'm downtown Richmond. I run a red light at 2nd and Canal. I come over this hill. Boom, I hit a car. My car flips. I hit the steering wheel. Break a couple of my ribs. Knocks me out. I wake up. I'm in the hospital. And I go to sit up, and I'm handcuffed to the bed rail. Ah, shit. Here we go again. Chesterfield County comes and picks me up. I'm wanted for some things at Chesterfield. I got some warrants. Didn't know I had warrants. I mean, I was only 14 years old. The last address they had on file wasn't the current address of where we were living. So once they ran my name and everything, came back who I was, they transported me to the detention center. Meanwhile, I've got court in Richmond also for, underage driving with no license, no insurance, the accident. So they're transporting me back and forth from Chesterfield Detention Center to Richmond Detention Center. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. While I'm going through my 2 different court cases, right? I met a lot of dudes that I would go on to, while in Chesterfield and Richmond, that would go on to make the news later in life. We'll get into that in a little bit. Guys that would go on to do good for themselves. Guys that are no longer here with us. A bunch of the guys I could think back on that I was in that detention center with in 94 are now dead. Quite a few of them. Some of them are doing life sentences. We'll get into that. We had these 2 brothers in there, and at 14, I wasn't a big guy. I would fight, but I wasn't, just running around starting problems with everybody because I wasn't the biggest dude. We had these 2 brothers, Philip and Travis Friend. We're done with this video. I want you to Google Philip and Travis Friend. Life sentence. They're brothers. Travis is big. To be in the detention center, he's the biggest guy in the detention center. He looks like he should already be in a prison somewhere because he's so big. And he had this big ass afro. And then you got his brother Philip, which is his younger brother, which is much smaller than him. But these 2, you already know. If you fight one of them, you got to fight them both. So the fact that Travis was so big and he had his brother Philip with him, they stayed in some shit. Like if you got into arguing one of them, you better look left or look right because there's a fist coming from behind because the brother's going to sneak you. So nobody really liked Travis or Philip except for a couple guys in there that knew them from the streets. I had a bunch of my homeboys in there I knew from the streets. For the most part, dudes tried to avoid any type of beef with them because, like I said, you weren't going to get a one-on-one. You were going to get jumped. In the detention center, we didn't have a hole. If you got to fighting and when you got to fighting, not if, when you got to fighting, depending on if it was the first time, second time, third time, all they would do is take you to your cell and lock you in your cell for 24 hours. That was their thing. Just lock you in your everyday cell. If you got up in the morning and you chose not to go to school, I don't feel like going to school today. I'm not going out there. When I mean go to school, it just means come out your cell, sit in the day room, and they had a teacher that came in and you sit in a chair at a desk. You would stay locked in your cell, right? Dudes would do little spiteful stuff to Travis and Philip, but they would never let them know it was them. When they were walking by the door down the hallway, you had to take your pants off, and you could only go in the cell. You had to leave your shoes outside your cell. When you went in your cell, this is what the detention center does. You had to go in these dingy-ass, tighty-whitey, slingshot, Spider-Man, the underwear, them grandpa underwear, and a red T-shirt. Now, these underwear might be 3 sizes too small. They might be 3 sizes too big. I remember putting on a pair one time and thinking, damn, this other leg hole where my leg goes to the underwear is big. And I realized it wasn't where my leg was supposed to go. It was a hole in the side of the underwear. So your pants and stuff and your shoes sit outside your cell, folded neatly outside the door anytime you're locked in your cell. Philip and Travis would be locked down, or some guys would walk by, spit on their clothes, do little spiteful stuff, kick their stuff. Guys, hey. They would never know who did it. We're all sitting in school one day, and a couple days prior to this, Travis and Philip had got to fighting with this dude at the ping pong table. We had ping pong tables, which ping pong was fun. It was good to pass time, but it was a quick way to get into a fight. You know, we're kids, we argue. That was a point. It wasn't a point. You call me a liar, y'all get to fighting. They had jumped this dude at the ping pong table, right? So we're all sitting in class this day. It's a weekday. I want to say the teacher's name was Miss Cook. She's a black lady. I believe her name was Miss Cook. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We're sitting out at our little desk, and everybody's got a desk like you would in school. They're all lined up, and then there's this lady standing at the front talking. Well, they got Travis all the way up at the front. He's the big dude. And then Philip they try to keep them separated because they cause chaos. And they got Philip sitting, back a little ways, and I'm sitting off to the right. And the dude they got to fighting with is sitting directly beside Philip. Philip's doing something, causing a disruption, and the teacher calls Philip to the front. Hey, Philip, come here. Come here, you're disrupting the class. Let me talk to you for a second. He gets up, and he goes to the front. And when he does, a dude that's sitting on the other side of him digs up in his nose, gets a big old booger, and reaches over and smears it like right across the paper that he was writing on, right? I'm sitting off, and I see the whole thing. I'm like, oh, this dude's wild. He just rubbed a big boogie right on dude's paperwork, right? I'm like 14. We're laughing and giggling, but we're trying not to, make anything obvious. He talks to the teacher. He comes and he sits back down. And you already know he's going to assume it's the dude sitting next to him because him and his brother just got to fight with this dude a couple days prior, right? He comes and sits down, and he's sitting there looking at his paper, and he puts his head up, and he looks over at dude. He stands up, slings his desk out the way, takes off. Boom! Punches this dude. His brother runs back there. They jump on this dude that ain't got nothing to do with anything. The dude that actually did it just did it because he didn't like him. They go to fighting. Boom, 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 boom. But at the time, we had 2 Mr. Macs that were COs. We had a Chinese Mr. Mac, and then we had a Black Mac. And Black Mac was a DJ at a radio station here in Richmond at the time, right? They come running in, and these dudes, they got dude that they think did it that didn't do anything. Stomping him, punching him. Black Mac runs up, and Travis is a big boy. They're focused on, him and Chinese Mac are focused on trying to get control of Travis because every time Travis hits this little dude, he's messing him up. Meanwhile, Philip is still, beating dude up. So you got Chinese Mac and Black Mac trying to control Travis, and they're wrestling with him. And as they're wrestling, they back up, and they trip over Philip beating this dude up. So now you got both of these big-ass correctional officers and 3 juveniles rolling around on the ground like one of those dusty-ass cartoon balls you see with the Tasmanian devil popping out and the arm popping out here. They're just steadily, now that they've hit the ground, Travis is back to fighting with dude. Philip's fighting dude. Dude's trying to squirm away. The officers are trying to get him underneath control. I done got up from my desk. All the desks have been knocked everywhere now. We all done got up. The other guards have put us on the wall, made us stand up against the wall. And we're just watching this, right? They separate them, finally get everything under control, get them into their cells, shut down school for the rest of the day. They beat up a dude that didn't do anything to them over a booger being wiped on the piece of paper. The dude they thought would have done it hadn't done anything. The craziest thing is that years later, man, Philip and Travis' friend went on to commit a series of murders. Their mom would pose as a prostitute at a truck stop, lure these men off to the side where Philip and Travis and their cousin would go on to murder the man, steal his tractor trailer. There were several murders that took place. And I never knew that day in watching this crazy mayhem cartoon style fight unfold in the detention center at 14 years old, that the two dudes that nobody liked, the two dudes that were jumping this boy and that jumped several other boys, would go on to murder people only a couple years later. You never know in those moments of what you're watching and who you're around, what people are truly capable of or what they might go on to do in life. I'm good with what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure they're not good with what they are. And I'm pretty sure they're not together anymore. They generally try to keep family members separate. So chances are one is in one prison somewhere and the other's in another prison somewhere, and they're never coming home. So that's that. Dude got his ass whooped by the crackhead Candyman. Another dude got his ass whooped for a misplaced boogie, for a booger that didn't come out his nose. And the guys that did it went on to kill somebody, man. I tell y'all all the time, this is a crazy world we live in, and it truly, truly is. I thank each and every one of y'all for taking this journey with me and watching and listening to these stories, peeking into my mind, peeking into my past. Big shout out to anybody that takes the advice I give. I know this stuff can be comical sometimes, but trust me, when you're in those moments, there's nothing funny about it. It's not. I just wanted to lighten the mood a little bit. But as y'all know, I'm at work and I got to get back on my grind. I got to get back to this money. But I love y'all, so I got to keep this content coming from y'all. Anyways, these detention centers, jails, prisons, these facilities, they're all just crazier worlds inside of this already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? This is Jay Williams. Let's live life. And to all my real ones and the awesome real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Y'all know how we do. Salute.